3 minutes past the hour, 7 o'clock on this manic
Magic
Monday morning. We want to talk to the youth.
You deserve.
We want to talk to the Gen Zs.
Kabisa.
We want to know the leaders and leadership that young people expect. The leaders and leadership that young people expect.
Do they expect or do they want?
Well,
let's
ask Mohammed Abdullahi. He's a law student. He's an activist. He's very vocal, and he calls it like he sees it.
So are the youth happy, or are they not happy about the current regime?
The youth are just part of the larger population of the country. They are not exclusive. They don't live in their own separate mini world. So I think the mood of the youth is very similar to that of the whole country. I think people are ambitious. People are hopeful. People want a lot of good to happen in the country, but at the same time, people are alive to all of the troubles and all of the problems that they are going through on their daily lives, really. From their inability maybe to put all the 3 meals on the table, from their inability to ensure their kids are going to school, from the problems with the social health authority and its inability to pay for all of those things. So I think their mood is very similar to that of the larger country. Very hopeful, very, very hopeful about the country, and very they want the best to happen for the country. However, at the same time, they are alive to the challenges that we face. Challenges which are man-made.
Man-made.
Yes, sir.
Tell me something. We are coming up on the first anniversary of June 25th.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Has anything been achieved? Because there was so much loss of life. Yes. People suffered. They are still suffering. Abductions are still happening, and many have still not been released. Did you guys achieve anything?
Yes, Jeff. I think we achieved a lot of political enlightenment. We achieved a lot of political awareness, which is very important. People are now waiting for the finance bill. It's come out and people are reading it and people are going through it. Every little thing that happens, I think a lot of people are very aware. So I think that is one very huge thing that those protests achieved, that young people are very politically aware about exactly what is happening in this country. I think also something else that happened is a lot of organizing politically ahead of the 2027 elections. I think those are very key things which have been achieved by those protests.
And those of you all, or those of the Gen Zs who are bought. So, let's face it, right? And they sold out. Yes. What do you tell them? What happens to them?
I think, Jeff, although I'm not very privy to those accusations, but I'm aware that those accusations exist. I think betrayal exists in every movement, in every societal foundation. I think it's if they exist, if that happened, it's to just remind them that the cause was far much bigger than themselves, that the cause will not hold because they fell by the wayside. The cause is one of an equal society in Kenya. The cause is one of functioning hospitals in Kenya. So I think all of those still are very alive and those continue to exist.
They say you're leaderless. We are tribeless.
Fearless and everything.
Toothless.
Yes. With no leadership, how do you expect the younger population to actually move forward or actually come out and fight for something?
The movement has sort of moved. It's the cause, or at least it has moved. The idea behind "We're Leaderless" at the height of the June 25th protest had a lot of thinking behind it. The thinking was a lot of the movements, when captured by a few individuals in this country, had a history of selling out. Your immediate previous question is, there are a few of you who sold. And that's what happens with movements. Those at the forefront, it's very easy sometimes to capture them and to convince them that the cause is not worthy. So the leaderless ambition at that time had a very good foundation to it, I think. But I think as time is progressing, people are realizing that we cannot be an organization, or we cannot fight for something without people representing those views. I think a lot of those leaders are coming up sort of automatically. They might not be recognized within the movement. They might not hold official positions, but I think anyone who stands out and speaks about the cause that people were fighting for assumes a leadership position, and it's not exclusive to them. They don't hold those positions exclusively. That moment, they hold it in trust, I believe, for the cause. But anybody who stands up and speaks up about any of the causes people were fighting for assumes a leadership position that they're very worthy of.
Which are these people? Give us names, a few that you think they've stood out or they've spoken the spirit of the movement. Who comes to mind?
Hanifa comes to mind. I think she did very impressive work in her own capacity. She fundraised and managed a fund that ensured people went to hospitals. People who were amputated had money to facilitate their recovery. And a lot of those things, an audit was done, and that audit came out clean. That audit was live on Twitter and it was presented. So I think those are just but a few names.
No,
I do not
that's
want
Hanifa, that's one name.
Yes, I do not. I fear mentioning names, and I do not want to put myself in that.
But they've stood out. You said those who stand out, those who fight for the cause, those who advocate, for the cause. So Hanifa is just one you've mentioned. Who else?
There's so many. There's so many, Gunza. There's so many.
Casimiro.
And I strongly believe that at one point he stood for the cause of this, and I think in his own personal capacity he continues to stand for a cause that is far much bigger than him. There might have been mishaps, and I think he's admitted enough to those mishaps, which is very okay, which is very human nature, I strongly believe. However, anyone who talks about the cause at any particular moment and talks about the cause genuinely, believing that that is what took them out to the streets in June of last year, I think in that particular moment they assume leadership positions which they are very much worthy of.
A lot of vijana walichukua watu wenye walikuwa outspoken, watu wenye walikuwa popular or famous, ama even celebrity, wakaona ni kama hao ndio watakuwa leaders wao or something of that. So for reasons, pia kuna siku mpaka anaitwaje huyu jamaa wa magari Cairo, pia kuna siku alikuwa hapo wazao akisema na push for the movement and everything of that sort.
Jimmy Wanjigi pia aliingia kwa hiyo mix
only for him to withdraw. Age in a matter na status in a matter, ama ni what you're saying, the spirit for the movement ama of the movement, kwa sababu kuna wasepiwa the government came and said that the movement ama the cause ilikujika kwa taken advantage of by some political leaders who are old muzees and old mamas. Age in a matter kwa hii kitu mnataka kama youth pekee wakuwe hapa, ama any person who advocates and pushes the agenda of the youth atakuwa recognized kama someone who's gonna help push the movement forward.
Hakuna mahali ma youth wanaenda wananunua unga kwa bei yao peke yao, na watu maybe people who are slightly older wanaenda wananunua kwa bei tofauti. Bei ni ile ile. Tukienda Hosi, kila mtu anaumia the same way na hii social health authority. So hizi issue youth walikuwa wana fight for, which they continue to fight for, are not exclusive to them. They are cross-cutting across the country. These problems are cross-cutting. So anyone who says, I want a better Kenya, is very much part of the movement, is very much fighting for a cause we believe in, regardless of their age, regardless of their creed, mahali wametoka, economic situation, kila kitu. People want decent living. And I think that is what the 55 million Kenyans want.
Tell me something. In 2022,
yes,
8.2.
A majority of whom
are Gen Zs and below, right?
Yeah.
Are you urging your people to, number one, get your IDs?
Yes.
Number two, register as voters.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Is it happening? Are they getting access? Are they able to? Are they being stopped in various places?
People wanaenda kutafuta IDs. There was even an introduction of a fee, 1,000 bob lazima ulipe ndo uende. I think those are structural inhibitors to ensure wasipate IDs. But I think a lot of young people are alive. I was of a voting age in 2022. I was on platforms in 2022 urging young people to come out and vote. I think I'll continue to be on those platforms in 2027. That the only way tunaweza salvage kitu ni tutoke hiyo day to make sure to vote. So you also have to understand, Jeff, that a lot of the reasons why sometimes people don't come out to vote is not because they want to not vote. Kumekuwa na a lot of stories that the options are just not good, and that is a fair accusation.
Sure.
That we don't see any of these options being worthy of our time and our vote. But I also want to remind them that if you keep off, there is a lot of good people who put themselves up for positions of leadership when you hawatapata your vote. Yeah. So I think people should come out and register. People are coming out and register. Your political realization iko that lazima tuchukue ID, lazima tuende tupige kura na wase watatokea.
Your design. Unacheki, you're a law student.
Yes.
Uko for the year, unaenda kumaliza.
For LSK.
Does it really make sense right now? Because we see a lot of watu wanaenda shule saizi wako very powerful. Kwa government, watu very young, wako ni billionaires. Hata kama tuwezi jua pesa yao inatoka wapi. Education, does it really hold any meaningful aspect of this society? Kwa sababu tuko naambiwa so many vijana
tuongeze pia bidii, mwisho wa kusoma tutapata kazi nzuri sana. They lie to us.
Na saizi hakuna kwa vijana wapati kazi na vijana wamesoma. What's your take on that?
No, I think I value education. It is just not the job at the end of the 12 or 16 years of education. I think education opens up your mind. Education gives you an opportunity to equalize yourself. It's an equalizer. I think it has done. But Igunda, the number of people who've led decent lives out of education always outnumbers our wachache wenye mabiliona wenye atujui pesa zao zilitoka wapi. It's hard for a person who went through school, if they get wealthy or if they get all of those material things in this world, a lot of the times how to question that wealth, because you will genuinely have a pathway. Utakuwa unaona a pathway umjama penye alitoka. So all those few people, when you're billionaires out of nowhere, no respect for them, and your wealth is always questioned. You lose all of that respect in society. So I think education ikona value. Wase waende shule, wase wasome. Government should ensure that the funding model in universities ensures more and more kids from every corner of this country get an education. It is the better equalizer. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I'm telling you, every other week he's making some proclamations that are just changing that country.
Na si mambo ya kutenga. Ya yake si ya kutenga.
Hapana. Ziada gari alikataa.
Alikwara. Lakini huko kwetu tunaona 2 billion ilipewa for renovation.
What do you think of that? What's happening out there, Mohammed?
He might be very good, and his hopes for the country might be very good, but I differ slightly in the way he took up power.
Sure.
He took up power through a coup.
Yes.
You might say that sometimes that is even democratic. You could fairly argue that that is democratic.
Yeah.
But I think the long-term harm that it does for a country when leaders take a position through illegal ways or ways that are not in line with the rules, the harm that is done over the longer period is far much worse than the short-term gains. I think always it's very important that institutions are maintained. Institutions is what keeps countries going. Institutions is what keeps organizations going. So the moment you devalue those institutions, the risk that you run is one that is far much worse than the short-term benefits that you gain.
Yeah.
However, there's a lot of good that is coming out of that country. That just like the first president of Burkina Faso, and I can't remember the name.
Thomas Sankara.
Yes, Thomas Sankara. So a lot of people are now in the belief that this is a reincarnation
absolutely.
of Thomas Sankara, and they're very hopeful, and I think hope is very important for a country. Why are people in Africa looking very well at Traore? It's because they see what they want in their countries. They see hope. People are yearning for hope. There's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of people who stayed in office far longer than their terms. So I think that hope is what people are saying. We also might really need to see that hope in this country.
Absolutely.
Come the next general election, what other tactics are you intending to use, or maybe the youth are thinking of to ensure that their word actually comes to pass?
And their vote is not stolen.
Yeah.
One is to continue to hold the government of the day to account until 2027. Before the elections is to go out into villages, go out into towns, go out everywhere, to schools, to churches, to mosques. Civic education. Please tell people why this country is the only one that we have, why it is important for us to turn out, why we should be holding the government to account, and all of those things. But also, how do you protect the vote in Nini? A lot of that law is already settled, that whatever is declared, whatever results are declared at the polling station are final. So mi niko kwa polling station yetu Mandera East, wakasema candidate A 20 votes, candidate B, those are final. Announce those. Put them on TikTok, put them on Twitter, get a photo, because that sheet will be posted. Yes, exactly, right outside of the polling rooms. Take a photo, record as much as possible. This thing has a lot of power. Every photo that you take is documentary evidence that can be used tomorrow. So part of protecting the vote is hapo kwa hiyo polling station yenye ulipigia kura, come back at 6 after polling has closed. When they start counting the votes, there is the platform for citizens to watch and be part of the counting of the vote. Announce it. That's also very much part of protecting the vote.
I like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Dijanam sila.
Bado mapambano.
Mapambano.
Mapambano. Bado mapambano.
Mohammed, I can't believe you don't want to stand for office, and obviously you have your own reasons. But do you have people in the movement who will make great leaders?
I strongly believe so. And if you expect me to name names again, I will be disappointing you. But I know the characteristics of the people who I want to see put themselves up for position. If they meet those characteristics, for sure, I'll be out campaigning for them. I'll be out supporting them in all the ways possible to ensure that they get into office.
Right now, Morara na Kasamuel wametima kweli rongo. So they've merged.
Yes.
Team up. So what's your take on that?
I think they're organizing. I might, I do not have any personal views on the way they are organizing and whatnot. But as long as they are organizing, is one for causes. The same causes that people went out to the streets for on June the 25th. And the same causes that people come out speaking and wanting to see in this country, they have my full support. As long as they are fighting for causes. I'm not interested in their personalities. I'm not interested in their personal characteristics. We're interested in what are they fighting for, and are they genuinely part of the movement? Are they interested in those causes? If they're interested in those causes, if that is what really ticks their minds, they'll have the support of all Kenyans, not just me individually.
Yeah.
Yes.
You mentioned June 25th, first anniversary is coming up. Are you guys planning anything?
Yes, I understand that a lot of the people within the social justice movement are planning a petition. I also understand that they're planning a march to head to Parliament and lay flowers and mention the names of the people who lost their lives. I think there will be a lot of commemoration planned on that day. People should commemorate those lives, people who lost their lives fighting for a better Kenya, people who paid the ultimate price for Kenya. So I think we should remember their names, we should shout their names should be etched in memory forever, because they died for a cause far much bigger than themselves.
Absolutely. And the kids who are turning 18 this year, another whole bunch will be turning 18 next year.
Yes.
Are you also reaching out to them to say, hey guys, your vote could make a difference?
Yes, Jeff. I think a lot of that is happening on social media. I strongly believe in the power of social media. A lot of that organizing, a lot of that awareness creating is happening on social media. But they're also very much alive. They were in this country on June 25th. I have been a history student. I know that their teachers of history are mentioning these things in their classrooms. I think they're very alive to the power that their vote holds. There's a lot of civic education that happens within our curriculum. I think they're being reminded of that at home. They're being reminded about that in the streets. They're being reminded about that in schools. I'm very hopeful that they'll turn up, take their IDs, and be part of the change that we
Okay.
all want to see.
Best case scenario, worst case scenario. Tell us going into 2027.
Best case scenario is that the election is one of issues, and it is entirely based on who can afford or who can accord Kenyans better healthcare, who can accord Kenyans better modes of transport, who can accord better schooling and better funding model for our universities and all of those things. Worst case scenario, politicians are very good at rebranding, and Kenyans or generally voters are very good sometimes at forgetting. So that is the worst case scenario. We know the people who are responsible for all of the evils of the past 3 or 4 years. So we should really be holding them accountable.
Politicians on a bunga mob.
That's why Parliament kuna speaker vitu ziko wrong. Asante sana.
Mohammed Abdullahi, appreciate your time, man.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, and all the very best, huh? And on top of things, and I keep saying to your generation, stay safe, huh?
Yes.
Stay safe. Nobody wants a dead hero.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Stay safe.